Hi, BookTube, it's Amy, and I'm back again reading from the Anatomy of Bibliomania by Holbrook Jackson. We are on page 218 today, with a section titled Preferences No Bar to Farther Adventures. To return again from this digression to a farther account of my repetitious adventurers, I must crave leave to add a few more examples, to prove that the traversing of a particular realm of letters many times is no objection to frequent excursions elsewhere. Determined readers are as happy when they rove in search of fresh pastures as when they browse in those that are familiar. And those who chew the cud of a single book are kin to those others who are forever sampling new nourishment. Most persistent and notable among them was Macaulay, who seemed to Henry Jackson not historian, nor orator, nor politician, but the book lover, and as such to be respected. And Macaulay confesses himself a bibliophile first and last in every page of his life, and not least by his devotion to favourite books. I have no pleasure from books, he says, which equals that of reading over for the 100th time great productions, which I almost know by heart. He gave proof of this insatiable appetite in many a confession to his friends. He would read through the Greek dramatists from end to end every year. When writing his own history of England, he twice read through most of the works of Burke, thinking them admirable, and Burke the greatest man since Milton. In the early days of his stay in India, he read almost continuously with a frenzied appetite for big and little masterpieces, casting up his reading account from the time he unpacked his books in Calcutta at the end of November 1834 to December 30th, 1835. He tells Ellis in a letter that he read Achilles, Sophocles, Pindar, Plautus, Theocritus, Terence, and Lucretius twice each. And in addition, Herodotus, Thucydides, Euripides, Callimachus, Apollonius, Rhodus, Quintius, Caliber, almost all Xenophon's works, almost all Plato, Aristotle's Politics, and a good deal of his Organum. Besides, dipping elsewhere in him, the whole of Plutarch's Lives, about half of Lucian, 2 or 3 books of Athenaeus, Catullus, Tibullus, Propertus, Lucian, Statius, Silius, Italicus, Livy, Velleius, Paterculus, Sallust, and Caesar, and he was then nearly through Cicero, and at the same time deep in Aristophanes and Lucian, and full of shame that he had not read Lucian's Dialogues of the Dead since he was 13 years of age. 5 months later, he gives a farther account to the same friend, showing that bookish appetite is stimulated by that which it devours. Since Christmas, he had read Aristophanes twice through, and once again Herodotus and Thucydides. Then he turned to the Latin writers, Cicero, and 2 Senecas, father and son, and several third-rate and fourth-rate writers, as one does read such stuff: Valerius Maximus, Aeneas Florus, Lucius Ampullus, and Aurelius Victor. I have also gone through Phaedrus, but he is now better employed deep in Tacitus, his Annals, and at the same time, so he saith, Suetonius, all of which is but an account of his reading over a certain time. But all times were the same, differing only in the energy with which he pursued the passion. He read during all waking hours. How else could he have devoured so much? Plautus 6 times in 24 years, and so on. But the tale of his reading is too long, sufficient. Such multiple reading is a test of the quality of a book, as Miss Catherine Talbot well knew when lamenting to Mrs. Elizabeth Carter the scarcity of new books. Not a new book has showed its head in this century. The 18th century was then 45 years of age. But she had little excuse for complaint, for there was full as much pleasure in reading a very excellent book, the 5th or 6th time, as if one had it fresh from the press. Curiosity at first is too eager, leisure is needed to dwell upon its beauties, and when one has a general idea of the whole, one can stop at what particular part one pleases, which is true. But there is another kind of pleasure. In life, one is unwilling to part with an agreeable moment because one knows it will never come again. But it is otherwise with books. By turning back to a full page, or full passage rather, one may recall the pleasure of the first moment at will. Because of this humor to turn back, dip into the past, many good bookmen are full of regrets, knowing as they do that opportunity to repeat old books' adventures rarely comes. Ah, the books that one will never read again, sighs George Gissing. They gave delight, perchance something more, they left a perfume in the memory, but life has passed them by forever. He has but to muse when, one after another, past adventures rise before him in a ghostly fancy. Books gentle and quieting, books noble and inspiring, books that well merit to be pored over, not once, but many a time. Never to read them again, the years pass too quickly and are too few, and he dreams that when he awaits the end, those lost books may perchance come wandering into his thoughts, and he will remember them as friends are remembered. This nostalgia for old favorites is an effect of the literary wanderlust, the desire to roam over too wide an area of books, and for those who suffer from it, the best remedy is concentration, to find comfort with a few tried companions, as Coventry Patmore, who limited his reading almost wholly to the few great books from which the world derives all its knowledge. Friedrich Nietzsche was a purposeful reader inasmuch as books, with music, were the raw material of his deductions. He believed only in French culture, and it is a small number of old French authors that he returns again and again. I almost always take refuge in the same book, he says. Altogether, their number is small. They are the books which are precisely my proper fare. It is not in his nature to read much and of all sorts. A library makes him ill. His old French books were Montaigne, Pascal, Molière, Corneille, and Racine. Among the moderns, he is particularly fond of Guy de Maupassant, and confessed, between ourselves, that he preferred the generation of Paul Bourget, Pierre Loti, Gyp, Millac, Anatole France, and Jules Lemaitre to its masters, all of whom were corrupted by German philosophy. And our footnote just pointing us to Nietzsche's Ecce Homo, with a translation by Lodovici. None among great readers has enjoyed more deliberately the linked sweetness long drawn out of our more spacious writers, those long, leisurely books which rove and meander, saunter and lounge through their lives in an eternity of their own, than Mark Rutherford. Familiarity with those old books breeds affection for them, not contempt. He loved the slow pages of the Spectators of Addison and Steele, and the slow walking pace of Clarissa, which allows us to see everything by the way. Never hurrying past anything of interest, turning back to look at it again is delightful. He read through the Bible once in every 2 or 3 years, an hour daily before breakfast, and found it profitable beyond almost any other book. The Wesley Journal, Carlyle's Frederick the Great, Spencer's Faerie Queene, Doherty's Dawn in Britain, and Arabia Deserta. Frederick was for him the great modern epic, and he read it more than once. So too the Faerie Queene, which on rereading he was prepared more eagerly than ever to champion against all fools. Doherty's Daw in Britain, despite its 6 volumes of blank verse, did not for a minute tire him. Boswell's Life of Johnson and his tour in the Hebrides made him wonder why he should ever read a new book. Such works have the peculiar merit of being inexhaustible. Each successive reading, if you repeat the first 20 times, will be profitable, which many another confirms, as Benjamin Robert Hayden, nearly 100 years earlier. No resisting Boswell's life, and to conclude this matter, Mark Rutherford, letting us into his secret of slow reading and long-drawn familiarity, confesses that he goes over the old books, Bacon, Shakespeare, Milton, and those others again and again, because he has gotten into their ways, become tuned to them, responding to them as to the known, tried, approved. The new is foreign, it has no roots, and may be forgotten tomorrow. In the reading of it, therefore, there is no profit. He is no mere passeist, seeking the antique on principle. He could appreciate the new, as when he announced to Philip Webb in a burst of praise that he had read J.M. Synge's Aran Islands twice and must read it again. It held him, clutched him, would not let him go, and recalling the tragedy of the author's early death, he took comfort from the thought that, dying young, Synge was saved from becoming literary. But the reasons of such devotion are not to my present purpose. And that brings us to the end of that section there. Preference is no bar to farther adventures. Our next section here is in the Garden of Epicurus. And we are headed into a significantly longer portion there, which will take us 7 full pages all the way up to the twilight of the bibliophile. So we'll pop the bookmark in for today's video.